For the ones who work hard to ensure their crew can always go the extra mile, and the ones who get in early so everyone can go home on time, there's Grainger, offering professional-grade supplies backed by product experts so you can quickly and easily find what you need. Plus, you can count on access to a committed team ready to go the extra mile for you. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
When you're struggling with your mental health, the world can seem pretty heavy, like no one understands what you're feeling, or you're not sure how to ask for help. But here's the real truth. You're never in this alone. 988 Lifeline's trained crisis counselors are available 24/7 to offer the help and support you need to make it through. No judgment, no stigma, just someone to listen. Text or call 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, day or night. 988. Hope has a new number.
Hello, welcome. It is Eric Erickson here, the Eric Erickson Show. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be a part of this here program, we got an election in Georgia on Tuesday. That's the one the whole nation. I got to tell you, yesterday, in the 30 minutes before I came on air, I talked to a reporter from Fox. I talked to a reporter from the Washington Post, talked to a reporter from the New York Times, one from the Atlantic, one from the Guardian, all in a 30-minute period. It's like, I got to go. I mean, there were so many. I got CNN hits. I was on News Nation last night and CNN next week. I got Fox hits next week. The world is descending on Georgia, and it's flattering to be a part of it. On Monday, I will be in charge of emceeing, I guess you call it, the Mike Pence event with Brian Kemp in Cobb County, Georgia. And on Tuesday night, we'll be the host of ceremonies for the Brian Kemp re-election party at the College Football Hall of Fame in Atlanta. Should be a lot of fun. Very excited to be a part of it. Appreciate them. In the next hour, Brian Kemp is going to join me. News comes today from NBC News that Donald Trump has ordered pull out of Georgia. No more money spent on David Perdue. They've given up. They say there's an outside chance he could be in a runoff, and there actually is. If the Kemp people think they have it in the bag and they don't show up and vote on Election Day, maybe it could happen. So you still have to go vote. I don't want to talk about any of that right now, though. There are a number of stories out there circulating, and I'm going to string them all together. My friend Ashley is listening right now. She was asking me about the Elon Musk story, and it's all related to this, and I want to get into it. I want to begin with the Washington Free Beacon. It's from Colin Anderson. A liberal dark money group bankrolled by a foreign billionaire gave millions of dollars to failed gubernatorial candidate Stacey Abrams' effort to overhaul America's voting laws. Sacramento-based dark money group. Now, a dark money group is a group that hides where its money comes from. Sacramento-based dark money group Fund for a Better Future in 2020 gave more than $3 million to Abrams Fair Fight Action, its tax forms show. Swiss billionaire Hans-Jörg Weiss is by far Fund for a Better Future's top donor. His advocacy group, Burger Action Fund, gave the dark money group more than $45 million from 2016 to 2020. The sizable contribution marks yet another attempt from Weiss to meddle in America's elections. Abrams Fair Fight has spent big on ads urging Congress to pass the For the People Act, Democrats' massive election overhaul bill that would give the federal government unprecedented power to control American voting. Weiss has also contributed millions of dollars to redraw election maps in Democrats' favor and lobby the Biden administration's alternative energy initiatives. Fund for a Better Future's generous support of Fair Fight also gives Weiss a backdoor to earn favor and influence with Stacey Abrams, who is running again for governor of Georgia against Brian Kemp. Foreign nationals cannot contribute to U.S. political candidates, but they can fund nonprofit organizations. Weiss in 2014 revealed he only carries a Swiss passport and does not have a U.S. green card. In a 2021 SEC filing, Weiss called himself a citizen of Switzerland. In other words, a Swiss billionaire is funneling money into a group called Burger Action Fund. Burger Action Fund is then pouring money into a group called Fund for a Better Future. And Fund for a Better Future is pouring the money into Stacey Abrams. So it's a couple steps removed to try to keep them at arm's length, but it's not really. It's all directed funding. This is why it's called a dark money group. Typically, dark money groups, they don't have to show all of the individual donors they get. But if you know where to look and to follow the paper trail, you can still find out a lot of who the money is coming from and where it's going. And so you have a foreign billionaire trying to shape American elections through Stacey Abrams' group. She's being used by someone who has his interests, not the American public's interests, in mind. But it gets more complicated than that. The New York Times, Shane Goldmacher, has a story out called the Little Red Boxes, making a mockery of campaign finance laws. Democrats are deploying a new tactic. Now, let me explain something to you. This isn't just, Democrats aren't the only ones who try to subversively coordinate with third-party groups. It's against the law for a super PAC and a candidate's campaign committee to coordinate. What Republicans have done, if you go online and you look at different Republican candidates, you will sometimes on YouTube find 4K or 6K footage, or on Vimeo is usually where they put it, very high resolution B-roll footage of the candidate. It's the candidate shaking hands with people. It's the candidate in a meeting. It's the candidate with a shotgun slung over his shoulder, walking with hunting dogs. And it's just very random footage. Like, why is the candidate putting this random footage on Vimeo? It's because they're signaling to third-party groups, here's our footage that we've taken. You use it and cut a commercial for us, please. Happens all the time. Well, the Democrats are getting a little more explicit about it. This is from Shane Goldmacher. Campaign finance rules bar candidates from directly coordinating with the very outside groups that Kurt Schrader, Oregon congressman, a top moderate in Congress, needed to alert. So instead, on a little notice section of his campaign website, he used a little red box. It was a not quite private directive in a red bordered box on an obscure corner of his website, sketching out a three-pronged takedown of what he called his toxic challenger, Jamie McLeod Skinner, helpfully including a link to a 2-page opposition research document about her tenure as a city manager. The message was received. On May 3rd, a super PAC that had received all its money from a secret money group with ties to the pharmaceutical industry began running television ads that did little more than copy, paste, and reorder the precise 3 lines of attack Mr. Schrader had outlined. From Oregon to Texas, North Carolina to Pennsylvania, Democratic candidates nationwide are using such red boxes to pioneer new frontiers in soliciting and directing money from friendly super PACs financed by multimillionaires, billionaires, and special interest groups. Campaign watchdogs complain that the practice further blurs the lines meant to keep big money interests from influencing people running for office, effectively evading the strict donation limits imposed on federal candidates. And while the tactic is not new to 2022, it's become so widespread that a New York Times survey of candidate websites found at least 19 Democrats deploying some version of a red box in 4 of the states holding contested congressional primaries just last Tuesday. The boxes highlight the aspects of candidate biographies they want to amplify and the skeletons in their opponent's closet they want exposed. They add instructions that can be extremely detailed. Here's one for Jessica Cisneros, a Democratic challenger in South Texas to Henry Cuellar. Liberals, voters under 50 and women across only San Antonio, Guadalupe, and Atascosa counties, read the targeted guidance. Black voters age 45 plus in Durham and white women age 45 plus in Orange was the recent director from Valerie Fouché, a Democratic House candidate in North Carolina, locked in a competitive primary. It's very specific, very detailed. It's not just the Democrats, but the Democrats are the most brazen. Now, how is this tied to Elon Musk? Well, there's a larger issue of what's at stake here. The left has for the longest time had an ideological lock through the elite on our culture and really through our news. They have taken over Twitter. It is their playground. And in taking over Twitter, they have censored and silenced the right. Twitter has announced that it's now going to start putting misinformation boxes on stuff related to war and other crises, and you're not going to be able to share or retweet that information. And along comes Elon Musk, and he says he's going to buy it. Not only is he going to buy it, but he's going to allow free speech on it. He's going to do more free speech, not less. And then he has the audacity to come out and say, the Democrats have actually moved further to the left than the GOP has to the right. I'm standing still, and they've gone away from me, and I used to be one of them. And so now I'm going to vote Republican. I wish there was a more moderate option, but there's not. And the Democrats have gotten too crazy. And now all of a sudden he's under attack. Turns out the S&P has thrown Tesla out of the ESG index. They have started auditing Tesla. Now, allegedly, a woman has come forward and says she was sexually harassed by him and he paid her off. They're dragging all of his dirt out. Why? Because Elon Musk used to be one of them. And now he's not. The greatest sin in a religion among its most faithful adherents is heresy, apostasy. When you are in a cult, when you're in a religion, and you leave it, you're shunned, you're shamed, you're attacked. Look at what Scientology does to people who leave Scientology. They organize smear campaigns. Families are not allowed to talk to their relatives who leave Scientology. They are shamed, they are shunned, they are exiled. That's what's going on here with the left. Stacey Abrams is getting a ton of money from left-wing billionaires to try to shape American politics and culture because they're losing the American people. And so they've got to even abroad fund money into this country through Stacey Abrams to try to save their stranglehold on culture and power, and it's not working for them. And along comes one of their own, the richest man on planet Earth, and he says, you know what? I've had an awakening of my conscience, and this is nuts. I can't go along with this anymore. The ESG stuff is crazy. The woke stuff is crazy. And now they've got to destroy him. They got to destroy the richest man on earth because he is an apostate. This is all about intellectual control, not ideological control, intellectual control of America. Where do you get your information? What information do you get? How do you process and interpret that information? The left has slowly over time with Twitter constrained what you can see from the right, shadow banned people more than I thought was happening. It was certainly happening. They have blocked accounts, turned off accounts. The New York Post of the Hunter Biden story. They have elevated voices of disinformation to try to claim to fight disinformation. And along comes Musk, and he's going to break it up for them. They've been using Twitter. It's been their tool. Notice what's happening to Elon Musk now is what happened to Mark Zuckerberg. Mark Zuckerberg refused to ban that video where a man slowed down Nancy Pelosi's words to make it look like she had issues. And Facebook wouldn't do anything with it. And that's what that after Trump won and Russia had put $20,000 worth of ads on Facebook, that was the turning point. And then this video, and look, oh my gosh, Mark Zuckerberg's not one of us. Plenty of progressives at Facebook, but apparently not Zuckerberg. We got to destroy him. We got to destroy Facebook. They went after Facebook. Now they're coming after Tesla and Musk because these people are supposed to be on their side, and they've turned heretics and apostates, and they got to be destroyed because they want to control the information you see. They believe at the end of the day, the reason they lost power is not because of a cultural shift per se, but because the cultural shift happened by them no longer having the monopoly on the information you consume. They've never paid attention to talk radio, even though talk radio's audience is massive. Talk radio's audience, frankly, is bigger than any show on Fox News. But they don't listen to radio, so they don't care. But they don't like Fox. Fox has to be censored. Conservative press has to be censored. And now these billionaires who are not down with their woke agenda have to be censored. Woko Haram will fight back because they're losing control. And they will fund people like Stacey Abrams because they believe she will help them lock in their dominance and control. And she will do for them what they, when they live abroad and are not American citizens, cannot do for themselves, which is structure the American electoral system in a way that tries to restore their power. Power is all they know. It's what they want. And if Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerberg or anyone else stands in their way, they have to be destroyed. That's what you're witnessing play out right now. There are a lot of options out there. If you're a self-starter and you want to invest on your own, it can be really confusing. And I'm delighted to tell you about SoFi because that's who I use, and now I've got them as an advertiser. If you're a SoFi user, my gosh, you get all sorts of options, great research. You get the ability to invest in stocks, EFTs, crypto, plan out your retirement. More importantly, you got people you can call on. I mean, for example, I can use SoFi to buy stocks and EFTs and do the deep dive research if I need to and get complimentary financial planners ready to help answer questions. You can too, whether you're stuck on where to start or need help deciding what to do next. You can even save for retirement with traditional Roth and SEP IRAs. They have so many options. If you're into crypto, you can also explore crypto. They've got 30 available coins: Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano, Solana, Dogecoin, and so much more. But more importantly, they've got the number one ranked automated investment tool, their robo-advisor. It takes the stress out of building and managing a diversified portfolio without having to pay a bunch of experts to do it. I really like SoFi. Y'all, I've tried, you name it, and I probably tried it, and I settled on SoFi and think you will like it as well. Cut through the jargon, make investing easier with SoFi. Visit SoFi.com/Eric to learn how you can win up to $1,000 in stock when you open an account. That's SoFi.com/Eric. Brokerage and active investing products offered through SoFi Securities LLC, member FINRA SIPC. Hello there. It is Eric Erickson here. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be a part of this here program, you're allowed to call in. We'll go light on you on the phones today. I have my list for those of you in Georgia. If you're wondering who to vote for, we're getting inundated. And first of all, let me publicly thank Charlie and Philip. They have been responding. You people send me all the hate mail, and they see it. I don't. Suckers. But we've been fielding an extraordinary number of people who have been emailing and say, where's the list? Where's the list of people that we should vote for in Georgia? Text the word data to 33777, and you can get that list. It is all of the races where I got a preference. All the statewide races are on there. All of the congressional races, by and large, are there as well. And you can see notable ones are Brian Kemp, Governor, Latham Sadler, Senate, Butch Miller, Lieutenant Governor, Brad Raffensperger, Secretary of State, Chris Carr, Attorney General, John King, Insurance Commissioner, Bruce Thompson for Labor Commissioner, what's his name, Harper for Ag Commissioner. He's the only guy in the race anyway, but he's good. He's solid. Rich McCormick for Congress in the Cobb County area, District 6. Jennifer Strahan in the District 13 Marjorie Taylor Greene seat. Jennifer Strahan would be far preferable to Marjorie Taylor Greene. But you can get the whole list by texting data to 33777. Some of you will say, well, these are all the people I'm going to vote against. That's fine. I want you to be educated. I want you to be informed, antagonistically or not. Nonetheless, that's the list. And you know, it was hard because I got some friends, like in the Rich McCormick race in the 6th Congressional District. I actually like a ton of the people there. Meg Hansen, Jake Evans, they're all good people. They're all fine people. Rich is a friend. I mean, he's a Marine. He's an ER doc. He would be a heck of a congressman. I like him. And that's not intended to be disrespect to the others. I know Rich. He's a friend, and he's awesome. Good Christian dude. But I mean, your mileage may vary. If you got questions about a race and just want one of them, well, they're there. And then there's some state house and state senate races in there as well. Not all of them. There are too many of those. But text data to 33777. More importantly, we have crossed $150,000 for the Salvation Army. And literally every penny is going to go to help the needy, other than like credit card processing fees for people. But you can donate. There's a little box you can check, and your gift will be raised by the credit card processing fee. Nonetheless, you can tell I'm a lawyer when I go through all the minutia. Nonetheless, every dollar is going to go to help people who can't afford gas and groceries. And y'all have been way more generous. I cannot thank you enough. We got the matching gift. We raised $5,000 within the first hour, so we got that $5,000. So we are at $154,000. Add the $5,000 to it, we're really at $159,000, $160,000. Can we get $40,000 raised by 3 p.m. and get us to $200,000? Do you think that's possible? I don't know. Depends on who's listening today. But if you will text the word donate to 33777, I'll send you the link. Let's see if we can get to $200,000. Every dollar is going to go to help people who need gas or groceries in this economy. Well, we've done it. We've crossed $160,000 thanks to the matching gift from an anonymous business. We are on paper 155, 291 plus their 5,000 gets us over 160. Can we make it to 200,000, folks? Text the word donate to 33777. Let's see if we can. Every dollar goes to help people struggling right now for gas and groceries. Salvation Army will take care of them. And by the way, if you need help or know someone who does, tell them to reach out to the Salvation Army. They really do want to help. We got Brian Kemp calling in at the top of the hour, and we'll talk to him some. You should know Donald Trump has issued a statement now in light of all the news reports that he is no longer helping David Perdue and doesn't expect him to win. He's issued a statement saying he hasn't given up. It's not true. Technically, maybe he hasn't given up, but he's pulled all of his money out of Georgia. No more ads. Nothing. No more appearances and no more ads. I want to talk about something else, though. Monkeypox. Yeah, there's an issue here. I saw some controversy online over some doctors. They were accused of homophobia or something for saying that it appears the number of people who have monkeypox are homosexual, not heterosexual. And they weren't meaning it to be homophobic or do like people did during the AIDS crisis, but to point out that it comes through very close contact with other people, and it appears that the people who are spreading it to each other are having sex, and that it happens to have been non-heterosexual people. But that doesn't mean it's not going to spread into every community, but it won't spread rapidly because it comes through very close contact. It's not airborne. It's not like COVID. Of course, there are some people freaked out that it can be, but it is contagious, and the CDC, FDA have bought a bunch of vaccines. The smallpox vaccine, actually, that nobody takes anymore because we eradicated smallpox, actually is very effective against it. And people are freaked out, understandably so. I want to spend a moment on this issue, though, because I was on with Leland Vittert last night on News Nation. We were talking about this, what's going on. Nobody respects the CDC anymore. The mayor of New York basically telling the CDC now to take a hike over masks. I was in New York, last week? And New York has a mask mandate. Nobody wore a mask in the airport anywhere. Nobody was wearing a mask, even though there was a mask mandate still in effect. And, in airports around the nation outside of New York, it's the mask mandate is gone, and very few people are wearing masks anywhere. The CDC wants parents to give their 5 to 11-year-olds boosters of the COVID vaccine, but 76% of kids age 5 to 11 haven't had the first round of it. Dr. Fauci was being grilled by Marco Rubio in Congress the other day about letting people come across. and the border illegally, and why can they stay when they don't have the COVID vaccine or masks or anything else? Can we talk about the lack of humility in our bureaucrats and politicians? Because that is the fundamental problem. I think right now what we're dealing with, the lack of trust in government, is because government lacks the humility necessary for people to trust them. They got their 15 minutes of fame. Let's be honest here. Part of what this is they're finally in the spotlight. All of these people who have worked diligently behind the scenes to keep us safe from public health nightmares, there's finally one on the scene, and they become the celebrities, the rock stars. They're on the cover of Vanity Fair. Have you seen Dr. Fauci's office and all of the Dr. Fauci memorabilia? You know something I don't have in my house? I don't have a me wall. I've got in my desk drawer somewhere pictures of me with Clarence Thomas and with Dick Cheney. When I'm dead, my kids will find them and maybe do something with them. They can throw them away for all I care. I don't need a me wall. I've got a friend who has a me wall with pictures of himself shaking hands with all these famous people he knows, and he humorously has it in the bathroom. Doesn't really matter to him. I heard somebody else tell me the other day they know somebody who keeps their me wall in the bathroom. That's what it's called, the me wall, the me shaking hands with all these other people. Me, look at all these people. I don't care. But Dr. Fauci, my gosh, he has bought into it. Rochelle Walensky at the CDC has been a disaster. The FDA has been a disaster. They have lost the trust of the American public. And this is not a partisan issue. This is not a partisan issue at all. It is not about Republicans distrusting Dr. Fauci and Joe Biden's FDA. The Democrats don't trust them anymore either, because they've lost humility. Servant leadership. It gets talked a lot in Christian circles, but it's beyond that. You know, Jesus famously washed the feet of his disciples at the Last Supper. He said, basically, put yourself last. Is a good example of a servant leader. Here's a guy who came to die for everybody else. We don't really have that in government right now. Everybody wants to put themselves first. Everybody wants to prop up their own fame. And people don't trust that. The bureaucracy of Rome, I've mentioned this several times, but the bureaucracy of Rome kept the Roman Empire going when Rome was on the verge of collapse. All these emperors killing each other. The armies killing them. The Praetorian Guards killing them. One year they had a series of emperors. Through it all, the Roman bureaucracy kept the Roman government going. Edmund Gibbons, in his History of the Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire, actually blames Christianity for the fall of the Roman Empire. He says all the best and brightest of Rome used to go into the bureaucracy for the glory of Rome. They would run the bureaucracy and prop it up. But then they moved into the church for the glory of God. God was greater than Rome, and they wanted to prop up the church, and they built the intellectual foundations of the church. Ambrose, Augustine, Tertullian, Irenaeus, Polycarp, they went into the church. They became members of clergy, theologians. They built the intellectual underpinnings of the Christian faith beyond Scripture. And Rome began to collapse because all of the wise men, the great men, were no longer there propping them up. They had the arrogant men, the men who were using government to boost themselves and their own reputation, the men who put themselves above everyone else and profited off government. That seems to be where we are in this country. That seems to be what we've got. And so nobody trusts them. If you will recall, early on, the geniuses in charge, the healthcare experts, they said, you don't need masks. Masks will do you no good. It turned out that they wanted you to wear masks, but they didn't want to tell you to wear masks because they knew the first responders needed them first, and they were afraid people would make a run on masks and the doctors and nurses wouldn't get them. So they lied to you. And then they never apologized for lying. The data changed. Now everybody needs to wear a mask. I had on the Donald Trump Surgeon General. During the campaign, I had on Donald Trump, Surgeon General in 2020, and he finally admitted on my program that actually they were afraid of the supply shortages, and they couldn't just tell people, you need them, but hold off. So they had to tell people, don't worry about them right now. They had to let the doctors and nurses build up their supply first. He admitted they lied. And he admitted that they shouldn't have done that because it cost them credibility later when they decided they wanted people in mass. And part of it was the science changed. And now the science, by the way, has changed again. At this point, COVID has so mutated, it is airborne in the finest particulate, and a mask's not going to do you any good unless it's an N95. And then if you wear an N95, you don't need to worry about the person next to you not wearing one. And yet the left is apoplectic. Follow the science, but who cares what the science says on that? There's no humility. There's no willingness to admit they got it wrong. There's no willingness to correct the record. There's no willingness to sit down and in regular people terms explain how the science has changed and the data has changed. And now you get to monkeypox and people are like, well, this is crap. Why should we believe you now? You've lied to us the whole time. Maybe you want money, and so you're over-amplifying this. Maybe you can't give up your control. Maybe you need your 17th minute of fame. Because Dr. Fauci has been an arrogant SOB. Dr. Fauci did not exercise the requisite humility of a public servant to say, this is my wheelhouse, and all these other things are not. He decided to opine on every aspect of society. Believe it or not, there's more than just public health at stake and at play. There's an economy. There are children who need to be educated. There are children who, if not sent to school, will stay home and be abused with no chance of it being exposed. There are people who are struggling to make ends meet. There are people who run businesses who will be out of work. And Dr. Fauci decided he could just dictate and snap his finger and will things done, as opposed to saying, you know what, I control and cover one aspect of American society, but our society is multifaceted and complicated, and who am I to suggest that my area of expertise dominates? Yes, there's a pandemic, but even in a pandemic, there are other aspects of the pandemic that must be dealt with. He lacked the humility to do that. And by lacking that humility, he put a lot of Americans out of work and probably caused a lot of suicides, frankly, because he couldn't exercise the humility to say, this is bigger than me. Instead, he said, I am bigger than it. And look what happened. When Brian Kemp, the governor of Georgia, decided to open the state of Georgia, he was first. He doesn't get any credit. DeSantis is playing a very good game in his reelection and in the run-up to 2024. Kemp has no ambitions beyond being governor again. He'll be out of politics after that. A lot of people are saying, what about the Senate? What about the presidency or the vice presidency? He's not interested. If you know the man, you know I'm not kidding here. He literally has no interest. But Kemp reopened Georgia before every other state. And he got all sorts of hell. Deborah Birx, Dr. Fauci, Donald Trump, Stacey Abrams, Nancy Pelosi, Joe Biden. They all came after him. And he stuck to his guns. He dug in his heels and he said, you know, this isn't just a pandemic. This is an economy. This is kids needing an education. It's multifaceted, and I've got to do a balancing act between all of these things, not just this one thing. So I'm reopening the state. After 30 days, I allowed hospitals to stock up, and now I'm reopening the state, and it worked. Georgia's ahead of everybody in economic growth. Unemployment is lower in Georgia than any other state. You've got Hyundai now coming in economically. Kids in Georgia are outperforming kids in other states on standardized tests now because they didn't miss a lot of school. He had the humility to know what needed to be done. And by the way, he's still being savaged by all sides for it. Fauci and the government lack humility, and it has undermined the FDA. The FDA still doesn't want you to eat raw cookie dough. I had raw cookie dough with my 13-year-old last night. Nestle Toll House chocolate chip cookie dough. The kids bought a tub of it the other day. They don't actually make the cookies. They just eat the raw cookie dough. They haven't died yet. Or the baby formula shortage. They dragged their feet on inspection. They've dragged their feet on waiving regulations. They're causing all sorts of heartache for Americans. They have no humility to recognize maybe they've gotten it wrong. They have no humility to admit their mistakes. They have no humility to sit down and explain things to you. And to the extent they try to explain things to you, they use the biggest word salads possible with the biggest technical terms, which leads me to believe they're not very bright people, because very bright people can explain things to you in a way that you understand it, and they try to obfuscate through technology. Technocracy and technical terms. And as a result, we may have another pandemic. And when we do, no one will listen until it's too late, and it won't be their fault. Though they will get the blame, you and I will all get the blame, it won't be our fault. The fault will lie with the Dr. Fauci's of the world, who showed himself too arrogant to be listened to, without the humility to know his place in the world. And he wanted his 18th, 19th, and 20th minute of fame. And by putting his fame and his expertise ahead of even basic humility, will have cost this nation a whole lot. If the FDA and the CDC want to restore their trust, want the public to believe in them again, first of all, you got to fire everybody at the top. And then you need to start over with humility. The Eden Pure Thunderstorm will help you clear the air as well. Maybe they need to put one of those at the FDA and the CDC to clear the air there. You can get 3 of them right now for less than $200. You will be saving $200, and you'll get free shipping. If you go to EdenPureDeals.com and you put Eric3, ERICK3, in as your discount code, you can get 3 of them. They're less than $200. You're saving $200. You get free shipping. It not only eliminates odors, and by the way, it doesn't mask the odors, it eliminates them. You will also get an air purifier that gets rid of the dust and the pollen in the air. It's filterless. You don't have to get a subscription. You just wipe it out on occasion. And they work. I keep one in my suitcase when I travel. They're small. I can hold it in my hand. It can plug into the wall, or you could use a USB cord to power it like in your car. You can get rid of the smoky odors, the pet odors, the musty odors. EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is Eric3, ERICK3. Hello there. It is Eric Erickson here. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Governor Brian Kemp is going to join me at the top of the next hour, 2:06-ish. We'll take your phone calls as well, 877-973-7425. I want to play you a quick bit of audio here.
He also asked folks to get a sense about how things are going in the U.S. And look at this, Aaron. 65% of Americans in our brand new CNN poll tonight say they are concerned about how things are going in the U.S. Only 4% excited, 10% optimistic. Even 1 in 5 say that they are scared.
1 in 5 say they are scared. 86% of Americans are concerned with the direction of the country. That's from CNN. There are serious, serious problems right now in the country. And what is notable to me is that, you know what's not changing the dynamic out there? Abortion. The Democrats told us that Roe v. Wade
he also
was going
asked
to,
folks,
wrong button, that Roe v. Wade was going to change the dynamic in the polling. But it hasn't. It has not changed the dynamic at all. And I don't expect that it's going to. If it's not firing people up right now, it's not going to fire people up in November. That's just the reality of the situation here. The Democrats have put their hopes and dreams in that basket, and I don't think it's going to happen. What I do think is going to happen is doom and gloom for the Democrats. In fact, there's new polling from the Associated Press. Joe Biden has hit a record low in their poll job approval rating of 38%. In fact, you know which demographic of Americans hate the Democrats more than any other right now? If you're a Democrat, you may need to sit down for this one. Hispanic voters. Hispanic voters hate Joe Biden and the Democrats more than white voters do, or black voters do, or Asian voters do. They all came to this country looking for a better life away from their countries, and they've gotten it worse here, and they're furious, and they're voting Republican as a result. Brian Kemp when we come back.